we're not crammed in with heaps of other houses, so we've got a bit of room and we can see a bit of nature from our house. There's some nice big gum trees around, lots of native birds come by, and we've got enough room in our garden that we can grow some of our own food as well. And we're starting to work on making it a nicer place, but also plant trees and things like that in spots that will help shade the house through summer. Our house itself, I like that it's relatively efficient compared to previous houses we've lived in the past when we were renting. We bought the house about 4 years ago, and it was a typical early 2000s kind of constructed house. Not much thought was probably put into efficiency when it was built. There's no eaves, which is probably one of the most annoying things for me. It is relatively well situated on the block though, in terms of capturing sun for heating in winter. We get a lot of really nice sunshine on the front of the house all through winter. It's very much the bones of the house, I suppose, are pretty similar to what they would have been when it was built. So it's all single glazed, aluminium framed, horrible windows. I'd love to replace them with double glazed, but that would cost a lot of money because it's a lot of glazing in this house. And since we moved in, I did a heap of air gap sealing, so I probably went through 10 or 15 tubes of sealant throughout the whole house over the last couple of years, finding gaps, sealing them up, and even just doing that's helped. The other big push we've done is to try and move away from gas. When we moved in here, there was 2 split systems already installed. One was working very well and one was on its last legs, which subsequently it died and we replaced it with a newer split system. But there was also a gas furnace heater and gas cooktop and gas hot water. So we've so far decommissioned the gas wall furnace. We never actually used it because we didn't have any need with the split systems. So that's been decommissioned and we'll be removing that so we can get some space back in the room that sits in. There's the gas cooktop we've just replaced about a month ago. We replaced that with an induction cooktop, which we've found to be as good as, and if not better, to cook with than the gas was. And really just leaves the gas hot water to replace, which is probably the most expensive thing to replace. And we also installed solar. After the new state grants came out, we installed a 5.6 kilowatt solar system on the roof. And that, since we installed that, I think we've had one bill so far where we've actually had to pay. And I think part of that is because we've done all the efficiency things. We have all LED light globes throughout the house. We have split systems for heating and cooling, so our heating and cooling costs aren't massive, which means we've been able to use our own power during the day, but also export heaps to the grid and then make enough money to cover our winter costs, I suppose. Enough credit on our bill there. And if we move to the heat pump hot water, we should be able to hopefully get most of our hot water free all year round, which should help cover the cost of that outlay for the heat pump initially as well. Well, my wife's the expert on the garden. I just seem to be the muscles a lot of the time for her ideas. But basically, when we moved in, there wasn't a garden. It was just weeds and some seasonal grasses, maybe a few little trees, but that was it. So we've planted probably, since we moved in, we've planted probably another 10 or 12 trees in the main part of the garden. And we've also put in some lawn, and we're putting in some more lawn in a small section for my daughter to play in. But my passion, I suppose, is more the growing of food in the garden. So we've actually got a pretty big yard, and we've got a space in the backyard that we've started to plan out a number of veggie patches, and also a small number of fruit trees we're going to try and plant in that area. Yeah, we've got a compost down the back. Did grow summer vegetables last year, so tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchinis and all that kind of stuff, which kept us fed for quite a while, which was really good. So we try not to buy excess packaging foods as much as possible. We were doing taking our own bags to the supermarkets and things years before that became kind of mandatory, I suppose you'd say. Also use the council green bin a fair bit, so any food scraps, meat, dairy scraps, anything like that, all go in that and go off to be turned into compost. If I need something to build something in the yard, I always try and, if I can, get it second hand, or go out to the recycle yard out at the landfill and pick something up there that's going to probably do as good a job as something I'd buy new. But we made the decision to buy a smaller house as well, because we didn't want to be heating rooms we weren't going to be using.